Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast, episode number 415. I'm your host, Jose. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's episode is a good one. We are going to be stepping outside of the actual place that we usually record and go to a very special place, as you will see, Manley Creative. Thank you so much for allowing us to step into your studio and to get a hold of Jim Manley, who is the creator and founder behind Manley Creative. It is very fantastic when we get to actually sit down with these really incredible and creative individuals who have some really enlightening stories to share with us. On top of which, we're very delighted when it's someone of his caliber who has so much to say, so much to offer. And on top of that, they have this similar background in what they believe in, like us, where the story is so much more important than the actual what you're trying to get across. It's this kind of belief of like your story is the utmost importance, and to get it out on a very fundamental level where people can enjoy it and understand it on that level one-to-one, that is so much more important than anything else. So we're very excited to share this with you all, and hopefully some of you who are looking for a new creative outlet so that they can work with them for those larger scale companies, because these guys are on another level. Like, these guys really do make it most important to those companies who want to share what they have to offer on that scale. It's so incredible. So these guys work with large airline companies and things like that. So they are, somewhere in between like commercial and large scale corporations. So we hope that they're continuing forward with their storytelling and just the creative background that they have and just what their studio looks like. It's so incredible. So we hope that you guys enjoy this episode. We also hope that you will stick around and stay in touch with us. We have different ways for you guys to do so. So if you go over to our podcast website, findingarizonapodcast.com, you can see and hear every episode on our webpage, on top of which there's different outlets for you guys to go down. If you want to go down the blog route, that is something that is more personal to both Brittany and I. We are going to start doing a little bit more of like our own portions of like what we're into, what we're trying to get across from our perspective. We're very busy, but we're also trying to make sure that stays updated routinely. On top of which, if you just want the scope of who's coming in, what just the main meats and potatoes of what's going on our podcast, you could sign up for a newsletter that will tell you who's up next, if any codes that we have to offer, that'll give you some discounts out there. But on top of which, it just keeps you abreast of the news that we have of who's coming in, who's going to be next, and on top of that, just a little bit more of like those little things. On top of which, if you want to get really, really personal, and this is just like someone who is like, I love what they have to offer, I love that they are a great family, blah, 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 you go down our vlog. There you will go into youtube.com/Finding Arizona Podcast, and you will see the family vlog, which is really personal to both Brittany and I. They're like our home movies. We hope that you guys enjoy all these different outlets and routes that you can go down. But last but not least, if you want to work with us, and people have asked to help them get their voices heard, start their own podcast, even build some content from us, we can go ahead and do so by working through our new branch, our new arm. It's called the Found House. If you go down our little tab there, it'll tell you how you can work with us and how we can tell your story. So we hope that you guys will be encouraged to do so. We're very excited that we have a couple of clients that are just willing to utilize our skill set and really work with us and share their story. So we're very excited to do that. I hope that you guys will more reach out to us and want to do that with us as well. And that'll be it for a little bit of the businessy side. Personal side, it is July, mid-July. We've got a lot of things. Britt's come back from Canada. She went on a work trip. I'm doing well. Little guy is at swim class right now, so a lot of things going down into later in the summer months where it's going to be my nephew's birthday, also my mom's birthday, my parents' anniversary, my dad's birthday, all these things that are going to be happening throughout the later summer months. And then comes fall, and little guy will be going to school full time, and that means some changes will be coming down the rabbit hole for the whole family. I have to go back to work full time and things like that, so it's going to be a fun little change in our dynamic, but it's something that it's warranted and it's helpful. He's got to keep that mind, growing, and I'm very excited for him to go to school full time and very excited for some of the changes coming down the rabbit hole. That all in all to say, now you're updated with family stuff and personal stuff. So let's just jump right into this episode number 415 with Manley Creative. I will see you on the next one. Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose, and as always, we bring in fantastic guests every week, and today is no different. As you can see, we're in a different setup right now. We're actually sitting down with Jim Manley of Manley Creative, and so we're going to be talking a little bit about production, a little bit about the business, a little bit of everything that you guys are doing here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll ask you the question that we typically ask everyone is give us a little bit of your origin story and how this came into your life.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been telling stories since I could talk, I think. I still remember the very first, I learned how to read and write really early. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm going to say 3 years old or 4 years old, but that's probably not right. It makes me sound like a baby genius, right? But I know I was reading and writing at an early age. And in grade school, I just, my kindergarten teacher would say, if anybody can write a story. And I would always love doing it. One of my I still remember getting a round of applause at like whatever age it was, 5 years old. And I wrote a story called 3, 2, 1 Blast Down. Oh. So instead of blasting off, they were blasting in, because I had just read about the Earth's core and all the mantle and all the different layers of the Earth. So yeah, I wrote that story and I got a round of applause at 5. And I still remember thinking, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I got to do that. But so I've been doing that forever. And then eventually, fast forward, to high school and then to college. And I immediately went into radio and TV in college. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to be a radio DJ, right? and I really
thought that was the dream.
I thought that was kind of cool, because I grew up watching you're too young for like WKRP in Cincinnati and all that. I thought it was super cool. And then I found out, wait, if you do TV, mm-hmm. you can have audio and video and tell the story that way. And it was just, to me, it seemed limitless on how you could tell a story. And I was just hooked from there.
Nice. I love that, because again, we like to hear these early beginnings, because I always feel like it is very much the seed that grows the tree. And I love hearing that part, especially the fact that you had the love of it just from the hand applause of your actual grade school kids. And I feel the same way, is because we were speaking off air. It's growing up. It's a big part of, who you are at the core of yourself. And so when you have moments like that, it means so much when it reverberates towards your future and what you're doing today. And so I feel like that's the coolest thing to see. Who you are at the core. It comes from this moment in your life where you get a round of applause from other kindergartners, first graders, and stuff like that. So that's really cool. Can I ask if your parents were anything close to what you do today?
Well, they were definitely, I'm adopted. So, so there's no like biological, but there's nature and nurture, right?
Yeah.
And they were definitely great at nurturing my love of storytelling. They never said, my love of everything, curiosity. Really, that's what it is. It's just being curious about other things, other people, other cultures. And they were both, they're both educators. They're both just let me kind of do my thing, and never like said, okay, don't do that. They wanted me to be curious, because if you're not curious, you're not learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion.
I agree 100%. I'm always the kind of, I take the challenge of like, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I want to hear who's got what idea, and I want to really
You're
challenge.
probably the smartest guy in this room.
Oh gosh, thank you for that. I really
I'm not the
appreciate
smartest guy.
I appreciate it. So I kind of like picking apart the origin story, because it really does show who you are now. Going into high school, college, was there kind of a critical moment of like, I need to turn this into a business, or I need to take what I've learned?
Well, that happened when I graduated college. I knew I was going to go into the news business because I graduated from a journalism school in Illinois.
Okay, yeah.
And I just knew I wanted to, and I came right out here to at that time we were the maybe 7th or 8th largest market in the country. And I'm a 22-year-old cocky kid.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's no way you're going to start your career here in the news. And of course, I was like, no, I will. And I did. Somehow I just kept working, and I did. I probably did not belong here at the beginning, but I started working at NBC here. Nice. I learned a lot. I realized the position I was in at that time. The NBC affiliate here was one of the best photojournalism shops in the country. Yeah. And I recognized that, and I was cocky, but I wasn't so cocky that I didn't think that I need to sit down and learn from these people, right? And that's where it really opened my eyes. I'm like, my gosh, we get to tell stories from the saddest thing that's happened to the happiest thing that's happened to every type of thing that happens in the world. Yeah, you get to tell that story, and it was just, I was in love. I fell in love with it. And there's nothing like having that one-on-one interaction with somebody with the camera in your hand. They're trusting you to tell their story well. And I took that trust very, very seriously. Great. So I did that for 14 years.
Where were you? And like, did you play a role in like all the different positions of the NBC part, or was that just kind of like you were in one position and then just stuck to that the entire time?
Well, that's an interesting question. Because I started out as an intern, and they didn't even have an intern program.
Oh wow!
Somebody informed me they didn't have an intern program. I'd driven out here from Illinois in my pickup truck with my guitar, my suitcase, and my TV. Yeah, that was it.
Why Arizona though?
I had a friend who lived out here, and I just wanted to go somewhere where it was warm. I mean, have you been to Illinois?
Yes, I actually have.
You don't know the weather. You don't know I'd lived there my whole life. I wanted to go somewhere warm.
Got it.
And then I found out, hey, this was a great place to land, because it was an awesome area to learn about storytelling. But then I was an overnight editor. Okay. And then I worked my way up into the photojournalism staff. Nice. And I was also in management. I think I was like 28 years old and I was in management. And I still think back and laugh about that, because I'm managing like 50-year-old people, you know. And so then I can say that you can blame me for being the first multimedia journalist probably in the country, or one of them. Oh. I'm the one to blame for the one-man band thing. Because I once went to my news director and I said, hey, I would really just like to not have a reporter on this story. Can I go out and do this on my own? He's like, yeah, go ahead. And from there on, I just started going out, and I'd be on air and shoot my own stories. And then that kind of snowballed from there. So I'm either to blame. I get a lot of blame from people for that. But for me, it was awesome. It was awesome.
I can imagine. I mean, again, like you said, you have the ability to take a wide variety of stories that come across your table and choose and pick maybe the one that stands out the most to you, or probably the one that doesn't get the first glance, and really make it your own, and really step out into the world and really show and highlight something very special. Like you said, they trust you, and being that your trust and creativity can now
take it seriously
and move it further.
Take that trust seriously. If somebody's going to open their heart to you and open up to you on camera, then I felt that was a tremendous responsibility for me. And I still do. I still feel that way. That's the way we operate here. You know, it's not something I take for granted. There's a lot of power in that. Yeah. There's a lot of power in that. And I never, ever forgot about that. Never. Yeah. Still to this day.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, it means a lot to me. And it'll actually lead me into my next question. And it really has to do with your business and what you have here today.
20 years now.
20 years. And what about, that trust kind of plays a part in the culture of what you built here in this business? And also on top of that, like how you kind of go out and work who you guys are as a goal and as like a creative business and work that into your clients and things like that.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, we have four core values here that we live by. Okay. And then we have mission statements. We have policies, procedures, we have processes in place. So all that is because we want to make our clients' lives very, very easy. Also, for me, it's important for who's ever working for me, either here or around the world, because we do the stuff all over the world, right? I want them to know when they're working with Manley Creative that our number one priority is the client. It's not your ego. It's not the dollar bills, although we got to make money to survive and to grow. But it's the last thing on my mind is the dollar bills. It's like these people have put their trust in us and their butts are on the line because if their story doesn't get told the way they were told, that their bosses want it to be told, then they're the ones that are gonna get flack for it, right? So I just make sure that we know everybody we work for. That's a human being there, right? Yeah. And you're gonna treat them the way that you would want to be treated. It's a pretty simple concept and something I learned growing up in a little tiny town in Illinois.
Absolutely.
5,000 people. You go on the town square. We had a town square like Norman Rockwell. And you knew everybody, and nobody screwed anybody over there, right? Because it would come back on them. So that's the way we operate. We operate from a very human standpoint, and that's the kind of stories we tell too. Yeah. So I could go on about that for days.
No, I love it because again, it's like I was telling you, I grew up around that kind of same methodology of like treat people with respect and kindness, and they'll tell you a lot and you'll learn a lot from them. Yeah. And so that's the great thing about storytelling, and what you can get out of it is what you put back into it. And one of the things that my wife likes to say is nobody cares how much you know. It's about how much people want to know how much you care. Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to.
That is so true. That's so true. And so, with that, growing this company at first was production in its roots, right? Yeah. And for a very, very long time. And then we've added the digital part to over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had digital, so we're production and digital. So taking that model where, we are creating the assets, we're doing the storytelling, and then we're launching those out for them in social media and with SEO, with lead gen, anything that would go along with those assets. That's important. And to me, I love giving that whole experience to the client, because the last thing I want to do is create these beautiful storytelling elements and assets and video, photo, whatever it might be, and then hand them over to another company that may or may not care as much as we do. Yeah. And that's why it's just, I guess I've never thought about it this way, but it's kind of the same reason I went to the news director when I worked in the news business. Said, hey, let me just handle everything myself here. And we'll make sure it'll get done.
Kind of makes sense as you look back on it. You're like, oh yeah, that really stands out where he's
I want that same level of caring to go through the whole process, because if we're making these beautiful stories for our clients and they're not being treated the same way once they're being put out there on TV, on social media, whatever it might be, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And so now you are at a kind of really beautiful point in this career. And what I've heard is you guys are at a moment of rebranding. Oh, yeah. And so I would love to understand, what goes into it and what you value most in this rebranding and change.
Well, this is where had to swallow my pride a little bit, because I felt like, okay, we do this, we're a marketing company. We're 20 years, we can rebrand ourselves, right? We can do this. And of course it didn't work. Of course that didn't work. I kept trying to do it over the last 4 or 5 years. It's the same reason our clients hire us, even if they have a small in-house agency, they hire us to give that outside perspective. We can come in from the outside and we can go, okay, we can see it as your consumer, as your whatever it might be, as your audience, and we can make it better. Same thing happened here with the branding, with the rebrand. I finally got convinced. It's hard to get through this thick head, but they got through and they go, Jim, we need to hire an outside agency to do our rebrand. Yeah. And they were absolutely right. And now we're at this point where we're almost done with it. And I've seen all the assets that go with it and all the rebrand. I love it so much. I can't wait to roll it out. I'm not really good at being patient, but they also told me I have to be patient.
It kind of comes with the territory.
They said, you got to be patient. We can't just roll it out. They have a rollout plan for it. So, but soon to come. So yeah, I'm really, after 20 years, having a rebrand, and I'm proud of it too. I'm proud of it. And it really, when you look at our new logo and you look at our messaging, which you can't look at yet because we got to be patient, right? It really points out who we are. We're a company who cares. We're a company who gets it right every single time. I mean, nobody will let me say that like in print, but it's so true. We get it right every single time. Because if we don't get it right, then we'll fix it before they know about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We always get it right, and that's so important for me. And also, you're not going to see drama on our sets, for example. You're not going to see people yelling at each other. You're going to see director with a scarf, belittling somebody. It doesn't work like that, And
I think it comes back to you as a leader, as a person in charge of, like you said, when you care, I think it goes to the element of hiring and building a culture that cares as well. So all of your employees have that same mentality.
That's exactly right. When we go to hire, we first talk about our core values, and we tell them our core values. And we make sure that is a fit for them. And almost everybody will go, I'm right on with that. But a little bit of digging, you can usually tell if somebody truly lives that. And you'll see when you talk to anybody on my team, whether it's here or whether it's our team we use in Greece or a team we use in Charlotte or wherever it is, they all have that thing where you're like, these are good people doing good things.
So you brought up the international stuff, and I really like to kind of pick your brain about, you guys have worked with Fortune 100 all the way to 500 companies.
There's a Fortune 1 company we work for too.
Wow. And so, I mean, I want to get perspective here from your early beginnings of the news anchor and the kind of newsroom element that you started off with. What are the differences between that and then where you guys are today?
That's a good question. You mean what's the difference between when I was in news and what I do now?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a really good question. I mean, I don't think there's too much difference. And the biggest difference is I'm in charge here. kind of.
True.
I'm kind of
True.
in charge.
When it comes to the troublesome part, where all of it comes back to you.
It comes down to me having, I don't get to pass the buck to anybody. When there's big decisions to be made, I ultimately have to make them. I have a great leadership team that I run them by. But boy, that's one I wish you would have asked me earlier or before we started, because it is such a great question. It's nothing I've really reflected on before. It still goes back to just treating everybody the same. It really does. Yeah, it goes back to that. I got to meet so many people in the news business. I mean, there's 3 or 4 presidents,
Wow.
I've standing in a locker room with Michael Jordan.
Nice.
But then you're also sitting with somebody doing a story because their kid just drowned in a pool. You're doing stuff like that, and it's or you're out on one of those wildfires that burned down 10 houses, and you're talking to the homeowners, and just meeting people from all aspects of life and in different spots in their life too, not just the happy moments, not just the sad moments, the in-between moments too, and treating everybody the same and really genuinely caring. If you don't care, if all you're caring about is going in and doing I'm going to do a story and it's going to be great and watch how great I am, what's the point of that? You're doing such a disservice to the folks that you're working with or for. When that I feel that way anyway.
I love that you bring it that way, because again, it doesn't matter the clientele. You always want to bring it back to what matters most is the story and how much you guys put that care into it and the love and joy, and it'll reflect upon that element and that foundation. So again, I really do respond well to what you guys have as your core value. And I think it is one of the most important elements to have when it comes to creativity and when it comes to storytelling. So kudos to you guys for finding that early on in the very beginning when you started out, and now moving it forward into these other elements.
Well, I wouldn't have it any other way. You're only on this Earth once, maybe. Okay, well, whatever you think. Right?
However you believe.
Right now, we know we're here. Right, we're here for a blip.
Yeah.
So why not make a mark while you're here? Why? And your mark is, to me, making a mark doesn't mean you're making $1 billion and look at what I can spend and look what I can do and look who I can impress. That's not the blip I want to make. I want a legacy that my kids, I have three boys.
Nice.
I want them to be proud of that legacy. I want them to, when they hear the Manley name, I want them to go, yeah, that's my dad.
Yeah, nice. Well, that brings up even more questions for me. I mean, have they seen a lot of your guys's, do you bring some of those assets home and share with them a little bit?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have 3 boys and they're spread out. There's a 9-year-old, there's a 22-year-old, and there's a 26-year-old.
Oh.
Okay, so
each have a different phase of life.
They each have a different phase of life. And my 22-year-old actually has his own video production company now.
Great.
And he was on set as an actor, of course he had to be. We used him for free labor as an actor on set.
Well, I have a 3-year-old and he's just starting to realize the camera can be something that you use for work, and daddy does work on the camera.
That's great. Yeah, that's exactly how my kids. I've always made it very aware that this is what I do for a living, and that they, like my 9-year-old, he's seen our TV commercials as he's grown up. He still recites commercials he used to watch when he was 3 or 4 years old.
Well, does it help that dad has to put it on a repeat where it's see every element and he's it's stuck in my head now, Dad.
What he does do though is all 3 of my boys do this when they see something that's not that great. They go, Dad, did you see that's awful? Because they hear me.
Yeah.
They hear me saying I'm very critical of, we have to be critical.
You have to have a critical eye. So that actually was going to be one of my other questions is do you get this level of joy? Where is the nerd out moment? And I think it is from analysis of other, you can't run away from it. It's television. It's everywhere you kind of go in your daily life. It's so you brought up Michael Jordan. Did you see the Last Dance documentary? What did you think of that element? I think one of the things that stands out in that documentary was the iPad and him reflecting upon some of the stuff on the iPad.
And that's the kind of storytelling I love. I don't like it when we just do the basics. If we're doing the basics, then they've hired the wrong company. They hire us to think outside the box like that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of what we do. Yeah, there's TV commercials, but a lot of it is business to business. Tons of business to business, and that's where it's not as sexy as some people might think, but it's what I really love. Yeah. I love taking our brand of storytelling, and there's regulated clients like in aerospace and healthcare, for example, and some of their stuff, the business to business. It could just be bland, but we always try to throw in. I can give you an example. I have a great example as I'm thinking about this. So one of our aerospace clients, they have a product that's about the size of a hockey puck. Okay. And this particular product, a lot of other companies make. Yeah. Right. But their product is known to be durable. And it's known to work in cold weather and in hot weather, wet conditions, whatever. But the cold weather and the durability was the big thing. And even some of their the cold weather and the hot weather and the durability. So what we did is we took this thing that's about this big, right? Yeah. And we went and had a team play hockey with it. And then we had a scientist out there testing to make sure it's working beforehand. We did the test. And they were smacking around the hockey rink for an hour, and we shot. You can imagine the shots we got from that, and putting the GoPro on the puck and all that. And sure enough, it works after that. And some of their competitors, their product gets broken just by shipping it. Yeah. So then after that one, everybody loved that one, of course. So then they're like, well, we have to show how it's good in the heat. Uh-huh. So what we did was we went out it was 112 degrees out. Yeah. And we took it out into the desert, and we put it on we got a 4-wheeler, and we hooked it on a chain to the back of the 4-wheeler, and had this guy just do donuts around, drive all around, go over rocks. and everything. And, again, you get the cool shots, you get the drone shots, you get everything else. And you had the scientist out there in the white coat. He's like, yeah, it's still working. But then we're like, okay, wait, there's more. So then we had like a campfire going.
Okay.
And we had we threw it with oil in the pan with the campfire, and he's flipping it around, and it still works. So
nice.
That's the kind of stuff, where
that.
you could say, okay, you might make that not so interesting, but just saying we're better, and here's why we're better.
Here are the numbers.
Yeah, here are the numbers.
Yeah.
But let's show you in a fun way.
Those
are the kind of things.
Those are the things that also stand out most, because you can really visualize it with your own kind of own perspective of like, holy crap, like that actually works. Like that actually makes sense to hit it around in a hockey rink and make it challenge it by dragging it through.
I couldn't believe it still worked.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, again, it's like what you say also is like right there on the table. It's like, we're not hiding it from you. This is actually working.
That's right.
And it's really cool.
And that goes back to something, because I'm sure you've had many AI discussions too.
Oh yeah. Our last episode, our last interview was literally an AI company.
Okay. Well, and AI is great and all, but the real storytelling, to me, authentic, real storytelling, there's always going to be a space for that.
Yeah.
For this kind of storytelling.
Absolutely.
Or like, an example, Ivy Brain Tumor Center, which they do angels work there. Mm-hmm. They're a fantastic client of ours. Us going and telling the stories of their patients who are doing their phase 1 trials or their whatever, who are going through the brain cancer and Ivy Brain Tumor Center doing these, doing everything they can to cure it or make it better.
Yeah.
I dare AI to tell that story.
Absolutely.
It probably could, but is it going to tell it in the human way that's going to get people to stand up and take action?
Yeah, and it resonates with them as well.
That's right.
So that's beautiful, because I think that'll lead me into kind of what we typically pivot towards is kind of looking towards the future. And you brought up AI, but it's also just conceptually of like, what are your goals and what are some things that you're set and excited for Manley Creative?
Yeah. Oh man. My favorite thing, and I thought maybe this would go away, but now I realize it won't, it won't. After 14 years in the news business, now 20 years doing this, and you can do the math and figure out how old I am, probably around that age. But doing this, my favorite thing and the thing I look forward to is just watching my employees grow and prosper and I love it when somebody has a baby or buys a house or when they take a cool vacation. Like we have people, there's, going to Switzerland or where, or wherever they go. Like this summer, I'm so excited to hear about people's summer vacations, or our employee, or our clients, when I hear that they've had success stories because of they worked with us and they got promoted, or they got kudos from their boss. I love it when they have babies too, because we send them little onesies. We have onesies with our logo on it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's the thing. I could sit here and say, we're going to be, it matters to me that we make this much money in 5 years. I don't care. I need to pay the bills and I need to keep hiring good people. I do need to make money. But to me, it's those kind of rewarding
those little moments.
Those moments, man, they're just so awesome. I love
it too, because we've been like, I told you we started this in 2015. It's like, exactly when someone comes back and says, "Hey, Jose, like someone heard my podcast and either worked with me, bought something, or really enjoyed the episode because they learned something about me." I mean, that feeds my soul on a routine basis of like that. But also it's the fact that like my own son gets a kick out of it. It's like, Dad, go do podcasts. Like he knows when I'm working. And
when are you going to have him on?
Oh, he's my co-host with anything that we do behind the scenes of like, sometimes we get to go to events and we have like a family vlog. And so that's when he's my little co-host and I'll give him a mic and give him some stuff to do. And we follow him and he's the lead guy in all of those shots. And Britt loves sharing those stories as well. And
that's cool.
And blogging about, motherhood and parenthood and things like that is just really great for us. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we have a kick out of it.
Well, wait until like when he's 22, like my 22-year-old, he comes and does a podcast with you.
Nice.
I'm trying to get all three of the boys to do a podcast at once.
That's going to be great. That's going to be awesome. But yeah, my future plan for us is to do my parents and have kind of a keepsake of like, I found this article, 7 questions to ask your parents before they pass away.
That's a good idea.
And I want to do that with both my mom and my dad and have that for Atlas, my son, to hold on to and know that he lives in a generational family, and this generation, my parents, will always be there for him, and these are the questions that will be important for him to know and things like that.
That's great.
Yeah. Before I go, I do know a little bit of your backstory, and I wanted to ask a really quick question because something stood out to me. What are some of the perks of being a president of the board of Phoenix Theater Company?
Oh my gosh. Well, perks. I mean, the perk is just pride for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I am so proud. I was just on a hour-long call with the Phoenix Theater, with some of the Phoenix Theater folks, because we're in the middle of a $45 million expansion right now.
Wow.
So being involved with that, like coming from a little tiny town in Illinois, where I came from, to now being the president of the board there.
It's just the largest city.
Yeah, the 5th largest city. It's a proud moment for me. And I'm coming up on 2 years on that now, and that's when I'll be done. It's only 2-year terms.
Yeah.
But the grand opening of the new theater will be in May or June. I better not.
Fingers crossed.
May or June of 2025.
Yeah.
So, I will continue supporting them through that. But it's just awesome. I mean, if you've never been, go.
Yes, absolutely. Support.
It's an awesome place in the middle of the 5th largest city in the country. Our goal right now is that we're building a Broadway stage so that pre-Broadway shows can come to Phoenix. And we're known as the place where a Broadway show started.
Yeah.
And we're going to get there.
Man, you're making a big difference in the city, and not only in your own family's life and your employees' life, but again, overall community.
Oh, thanks. You too.
So really thank you again, Jim. And before we go, we let you have the floor and let everyone know where they can find you online.
Oh my gosh.
This is the time to plug away. Go right ahead, look at the camera.
Manleycreative.com with the E, Manley. Manleycreative.com is our website. But soon when you go there, what's going to happen is you're going to see under construction thing, because we're doing our whole rebrand, which is fine. You can still go find everything. And of course, we're on Insta, like the kids call it, right?
Yeah, Insta.
Yeah. And, what else? Where else are we? Are we on Twitter?
Yeah, LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn is where I'm at all the time. I'm always on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So hit me up on LinkedIn, Jim Manley on LinkedIn. Not the political Jim Manley. There's a political Jim.
Really?
Yeah. He's like a political advisor to a whole bunch of people.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you'll see me.
The creative guy.
The creative guy with the goofy curly hair. So Jim Manley at LinkedIn, and then you have Manley Creative on LinkedIn also.
Awesome. Well, before we go, ladies and gentlemen, we do have an outro for us. You can hit here and find us at findingarizonapodcast.com. All of our social media under Finding Arizona Podcast. And last but not least, we always end every conversation with a kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. And we will see you next time. Bye.